Sunglasses. You can't see me back. My eyes are so dark. See, they just look good. Yeah, really. Draw straws. Oh, they look good, Lizzie. All right. All right, Liz. Oh, Liz, those look fabulous on you.
Okay, I've got a number.
Absolutely beautiful.
17.
1 to 20. What kind of?
Pick a number.
3. It was 17.
Unveiling Liz wearing her jazzy
Good on you. Cool. Thank you, Liz.
Yeah. I've never read a book by anyone to explain so well the tools for meditation and mindfulness.
Eckhart Tolle does too.
Oh, okay.
When I went and meditated for a week up in New York, John Kabat-Zinn's partner, he was just, his name was Saki Santorini.
What a wonderful experience.
Letting go means just what it says. It's an invitation to cease clinging to anything, whether it be an idea, a thing, an event, a particular time, or view, or desire. It is a conscious decision to release with full acceptance into the stream of present moments as they lay unfolding. So not only the meditation thing, but this one, for me, gives me tools to live in the moment, because I don't. You know,
not many people do.
I don't think too many people do.
But this gives helpful steps to catch yourself.
Right.
And
One of the things, Eckhart Tolle goes into those things even deeper. And in a way, I have never been able to understand. I mean, I studied Buddhism pretty intently for 3 years, and then always had it around me. And some of the things that they always talked about that I never could understand, I started to understand after reading him.
I do with all of this is, you know, what the Buddhists say, all of suffering comes from two things: clinging and grasping. We're either trying to get something or we're trying to hang on to something.
And you know what?
Everything is based on that.
And Eckhart Tolle took that, and I always, you know, I was always in the teachings of the Buddhists, and I was like, yeah, but how do I stop it? How do I not do that? How do I not want? But then that's why I like Eckhart Tolle so much, is that he goes into this whole thing with the ego and EGO, Earth Guide Only. The ego is only concerned with what's here on Earth.
Only.
The material, the survival. You know, we get the ego. Yeah. But that's how it was explained to me.
And
it's
he goes into,
it's very earthbound. It's not spiritual at all.
In the first book I read, which was The Power of Now, one of the first lines says, "You are not your thoughts." And when I read that, I had the biggest sense of relief. I was like, "Oh, wow, that's, you know, wow, that was a real big, like, you know, epiphany."
You are not
your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, because every day I think the most horrible, negative, awful thoughts, and it was like, and he goes on to explain how that's your ego, and that that the essence of you is not your thoughts, and that your thoughts come from your ego. And he goes, I mean, it is a total guide to your mind and how to
control it better.
Well, not even control it, but how to understand it, so that you can maneuver the workings of your mind.
Well,
and what is your mind, and what is your essence, and what is your thoughts, and
breaks
what
down
is
the character.
But I mean, it even goes
breaks
into
it
emotion
down
and how
into
emotion.
You know, the character wants to be in control of the horse.
Between the mind and the emotions, they pick on one another.
The character
they go back and forth with
and it's like we have to take the reins back, and they talk about that.
These
in a book
great
written in
ways to
1400.
stop it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I mean,
I want to read it.
This
I
is
want to
how
read it.
I have quit smoking.
Oh,
I mean, besides
Yeah.
the Chantix, you know, but this is how I've stayed off
Right.
cigarettes.
Right.
Is by this. One of the things that he talks about doing is you sit with your feelings. You do not indulge your feelings, but you don't deny them either. So, for instance, when the really wanting a cigarette would come up, you know, it's not just about wanting a cigarette. It's all the emotion behind it, all the reasons why I smoke behind it. So what I would do is when I would really want a cigarette, I would just sit with it, and I would not allow myself to think I want a cigarette. I would acknowledge, yes, I want a cigarette, but I would not allow myself to go into a story about this is why I feel the way I feel. It wasn't about that. I would just sit and watch the emotion of wanting a cigarette.
Yeah, be the watch it.
But I wouldn't indulge it. I would just watch it and feel it at the same time, because it's like you're splitting yourself and you're being an objective observer and feeling it. And it would get big. And it would get, and the more I would watch it, sometimes the bigger it would get, the bigger. And there were days where I was holding on like this. It was like, oh, but I just like watched it and let it get as big as it would get, and then it always dissipated. Every time it always dissipated.
Well,
You know? And then, but like with the anger, because one of the things when I would quit smoking, rage comes out. I get really like, and it comes out of nowhere. Yeah, and you don't know what's going to trigger it. It could be simply because I couldn't tie my shoe right. And and so when that would happen, I would sit if I had the time.
That happens in pregnancy.
If I had the time, I would sit with it, and I would just sit with that rage, and it would get so big. And I can remember one day pounding my knees, but I wouldn't let myself indulge it, and I wouldn't let myself ignore it.
I don't even remember wanting a cigarette. I just felt like I was out of prison. From day, you know, it's like the first day I made it without cigarettes. Like, son, I broke this habit. Damn it, I'm not going to smoke ever again. You know, it just I've never had the craving. I've never had the desire.
But I mean, it's not even about the not smoking part of it so much. It is about the emotion, the emotion that because I could have very easily have. Which I've done in the past when I've tried to quit smoking before, covered that emotion up with something else, like drinking, like eating.
Covered up with eating like I'm doing.
But I mean,
we all have our
that's one of the things that I've learned from this book is to sit with it. And even though it gets real big, at least when it's getting really big, it's not getting really big while I'm pounding on a wall, putting a hole in the wall. It's getting real big while I'm very consciously aware of it. And even though I'm pounding on my knees, it's so big. It always goes back down.
And I've gotten this last couple of weeks that when I would want a cigarette, I would try to like cover it up with something or just, well, I got it, you know, and just now, if I just say, acknowledge, this is the way I feel, and sit there and feel it for a minute, it just goes away.
And then it gets to the point where you do, as long as you acknowledge it, you feel it, and it starts going away almost instantly.
Well, I mean, sounds like my new God.
I would always like try to observe it, but I never knew what to do with the feeling part of it. And so now that I know what to do with the feeling part of it and observe it at the same time, it's like now, okay, now I'm on this train, and when I myself am aware enough to stop and do that,
just being the observer changes the whole thing.
And the other thing he
It changes
says,
the whole thing when you suddenly pull yourself back and observe.
right, and not get caught into it. And the second thing he said was, and there can be no judgment.
no, that's a thing.
Well, if you an observer doesn't judge, you are just observing.
Be objective. When you let it be, and you know, when you just let it be, and to feel
And I'm
how
not very
big
good
it is,
at letting it be.
and it just starts to dissipate on its own.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a miracle.
His tail will like break your leg.
Right.
His tail will break your leg.
I'm collecting our house's mouse.
Oh, are you?
Woo!
This is a miracle when you just let it be.